Shalom, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Israel Lighthouse. I'm Zach Waller, and I'm super excited to have you here with us today. It is Hanukkah, and we're very excited at the Israel Lighthouse to be celebrating the Festival of Lights. And as you guys know, the Hanukkah story is about a group of warriors, of men of Israel who defended and fought and won great victories for God in the nation of Israel. And today, we're super honored to have a warrior of Israel, a defender of Israel here with us. And so, Chaim Malespin, welcome to the Israel Lighthouse.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'll be honest, it has been a tough season. It feels like Hanukkah in the way that there's great
Mm,
darkness,
mm,
not only in Gaza and southern Lebanon, but I mean, you even see it around the world. I call it Israel's wilderness season again. We had the wilderness
mm,
season in the desert on our way to make Aliyah to the promised land
mm,
a long time ago with Moses.
mm,
But I feel we're in that wilderness season again in many ways. Just all the countries that you feel would be your friends, major Western capitals covered with these pro-terror chants, pro-Hamas, pro-Hezbollah. And you wonder, is the world on a tipping point? But, the light always shines when it's
mm,
darkest, and just one candle will dispel that darkness, and
mm,
it's not even a real battle because the light will win. But
mhm.
yeah, it's been an intense season. 800 days coming up just now.
Yeah.
In a couple days, it'll be 800 days consecutive
Mm,
deployment. Now I'm here right now. I sometimes get these weekends off, so I have
mhm.
till Sunday off. So today and tomorrow. two
Wow.
days. I know for the Marines, it's not like that. And the Rangers, Green Berets, they're in Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq,
Mm,
whatever. And they're gone 6 months. Then they have a debrief time. I think it's a
mm,
week away from their family. And then they're reunited with their family. And they talk with a psychologist and so on. We don't get that.
mm,
It's
mm,
just been, well over 2 years consecutive. And with minor breaks, and it's almost a little disorientating. Where am I? He's
mm.
like, do
Yeah.
you have an injury that's bleeding in your uniform? Well, it's time to
Mm,
order at the restaurant downtown Jerusalem.
mm,
It's like
mm.
it's all
Wow.
together. It's very interesting,
Yeah.
but
Mm.
it's good to be here. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
Oh, it's so good to have you here, and oh, just so appreciate who you are and what you do, and the update videos you've been sending out every day are just such a light out to the world. I was looking at those videos and I'm like, oh man, I wish there would be way more views on those because people need to see and
Yes.
understand, what's going on. So I'm thankful that you're doing that and getting those messages out. But I want you to speak a little bit more to that. You've just touched on, okay, you're a modern day Maccabee. You're in there fighting the wars of Israel. In some ways, that can almost we can almost romanticize a little bit and be like, oh, it's so great, so wonderful. But you've just explained like it's also war. It's also hard. It's not easy. So dig into that a little bit more with us. Like, what is it
Yeah.
like? What are the challenges like being a modern day Maccabee at this time?
What an honor. Yeah, I know that I can get into it a little bit later, but in this interview, but Netanyahu did say, he says, we're not just fighting,
Mm,
nobody wants to be in the war. No Jewish person. We want to have Shabbat dinner. We want to be able to be
right.
with family. We want to be able
Mm,
to study some history. You got the
yeah.
Maccabees over here. I'm
Mm,
studying a bit of the history here before the Roman Empire, before when the Greeks, yeah, I have the chart behind me, if you're wondering what that was. But people
mm,
want to study. Jewish people want to go to university and change the world and invent the cure for cancer.
right.
And but yet we have to defend this land from obliteration because that's what
Mm,
Netanyahu said. He said. This is a war for our survival. And
mm,
if they had waited a little more, it would have been. I mean, I know biblically, Israel will not be destroyed. That's
mm,
biblically. But if you
right.
look just from a military strategy standpoint, and you look from
Mm,
every other standpoint, economics, everything, isolation,
yeah.
we would have been obliterated had they waited like
Mm,
a year more, got their friends all together, the Houthis in Yemen, the Iran attacking at once, Hamas, Hezbollah,
mm,
in Judea and Samaria, the amount of weapons just in Judea and Samaria alone, some mistakenly call that the West Bank, filled with
mm,
weapons. And if you
yeah.
see the threat and the tactics and the training that's much better than before, it used to kind of be like, just shoot this mortar. They would do this. They would just shoot a mortar. They don't know where it's going to go.
Mm,
Shoot into like they would shoot. Here's just an example. Sometimes they would be doing this years ago. I'm talking 20 years back when I first got in the army. I'd be shot at
Mm,
like this. I mean, this happened where I was shot. See, they didn't have their, you know how to shoot, so they didn't have their eyes on the sight. They
mm,
were doing a lot of this, you know, and I was shot at, and I remember the
mm.
bullets whizzing by me from the Hamas.
Wow.
They didn't hit any of us, and we were a
Mm,
group facing them. They were being a wall, just doing this. But nowadays, it's not like that. Nowadays,
mm,
they're very focused. They're trained.
mm,
It's different. So my point is, we would have been obliterated. We would have been, and then the
mm,
nuclear weapon that would have been ready by now, we would have been
mm,
obliterated. Probably, we probably would have done everything we could to survive. But praise God, we are on a war of self-defense, and it's not glorious.
mm,
It's not easy. People are, never mind just the unseen scars. What about the seen scars? I was there
mm.
in the Sheba hospital, people missing
Yeah.
limbs, missing eyes,
Mm.
head is like indented like that, and I'm
Oh.
being dramatic, but they're like, hey man, I'm all right, praise
Mm.
God, I'm like, dude, you're gonna have to live with that all your life. Some people
Ah,
do
yeah.
get healed,
Mm.
but it's
Yeah.
it's tough for sure.
Yeah.
And then, of
Yeah.
course, just really quick, I'll do a very fast little monologue about
Mm.
the threats you encounter. I mean, it's a dense tunnel
Yeah.
network system,
Mm.
hundreds of kilometers. There's estimates. There's estimates that vary: 500 kilometers, 600 kilometers, 700 kilometers. There's estimates that are varied, but multi-level booby-trapped, narrow areas,
Mm.
kill zones, kill boxes,
Wow.
blast traps. Mercury switches, pressure activated. There's
Mm.
motion activated anti-personnel IEDs, hostage chambers.
Mm.
How did those cages get there? Did those
Mm.
cages magically appear underground? All those cages to hold
Mm.
innocent Jewish people. Oh, they were planned. They were planned for well over a decade, 18 years of digging, planning with locks, and they planned this.
Mm.
Tunnel shafts under civilian homes, under mosques, under hospitals. Sad to say, under hospitals.
Mm.
So many hospitals
Yeah.
have. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, every hospital that I've encountered, whether it's Beit Lahia, whether it's the Turkish hospital, whether it's the European, you have all these different hospitals, huge, massive amounts of tunnels, and including missile. One of them that I know, giant missile production facility, and I was there a lot. Huge. So it's taking you. It's like almost like a big pipe being
Mm.
transformed. You have a lathe, big machinery, all to form missiles that are shooting at you and me. And if
Mm.
they could, of course, the whole West. If they had the power of
Mm.
Iran, they'd be trying to aim at the entire West.
Right.
So you have anti-tank ambushes, narrow
Wow.
streets, Coronet missiles, of course, RPG 29s.
Mm.
We call it Klimagor, but I guess you'd say Claymore mines. That
Mm.
sometimes they point them the wrong way. It says this side facing the enemy. If it's one that's in Russian, they don't always read Russian. They don't know Russian, so
Mm.
sometimes they'll point it the wrong way. That saved that because it
Mm.
exploded and it blew everybody over, but it wasn't the actual shrapnel hit the wall. There's
Mm.
all kinds of stuff to
Wow.
deal with, like firing from windows, tunnels,
Mm.
sewer holes. It looks like it's a sewer hole. Close range snipers. The snipers are chasing you for a month. They're taking our guys out and
Mm.
firing
Mm.
holes in like this piece of a building.
Yeah.
UAVs, drones. They're dropping bombs on us with their drones.
Mm.
And they trained in Afghanistan. They trained in
Mm.
Iraq. IRGC trained. ISIS
Right.
trained.
Mm.
Much different training than you think. That's why I said that at the beginning. It's not just it's they're trained now
Mm.
how to use explosives better, pressure
Right.
plates,
Mm.
command detonated plates, phone activated explosions in a
Wow.
trash can.
Mm.
There's stories of a dog sewn up with explosives. You see a dead dog, you don't, boom, everybody's taken out. That didn't
Mm.
happen in Gaza, but the dangers are many. Close quarters.
Mm.
I call it like the most dangerous urban warfare zone in the world
Mm.
because I know I don't
Wow.
have exactly all the data for that, but you see other areas don't have as many tunnels. So
Mm.
although you might have
Right.
close quarter combat in Afghanistan, in certain areas in Mosul, Iraq, the
Mm.
amount of tunnels you add to that makes it, I would say, the most dangerous
Mm.
combat zone. This is me
Wow.
saying, but I don't
Yeah.
have all the
Well,
details, but
and it kind
it's
of makes
certainly,
sense,
yeah.
right? Because you have a military that spent years, like 10, 15 hours, a lot of years preparing an urban, force, right? A
Yeah.
place to attack from, and so and like that's not normal, right? And, like we it's hard for us to even think about, that people would do that, but these guys have set up the Gaza to be a trap, right? Basically,
Right.
and that's not normal to spend 15 years building a whole city and a whole, like almost a country,
Right.
to be a trap militarily.
Right.
That's not really, we don't, I don't know, has that happened before in history? Like that's kind of a crazy thing, especially with modern warfare and
Right.
uh,
Well, the thing is just to add on to that is Lebanon, because I'm stationed, not stationed, but deployed into Lebanon as
mhm,
well. And so they're Iranian supported as well.
yeah,
They're obviously the proxies of the octopus, we call it.
hmm
Proxy, the octopus has come out of the shadows, didn't it, in April
mm,
1st?
right,
Well, we took out an IRGC member in Damascus, and then they did Operation True Promise, they call it, and shot us with every kind of hellfire they could.
mm,
But Lebanon, Southern Lebanon Army was our friends, still, I believe, are our friends, but they are dealing with a very, very strong force called Hezbollah in their own
right,
parliament, in their own
mm,
country,
mm,
so far entrenched in the
right,
mountain terrain, in the woods
mm,
there, knowing every aspect. I've been inside those tunnels, inside many of those. They have underground cities there, by the way. So
mm,
I've been inside certain of these weapons caches, and
mm,
they have also long range Metis M Conkers. They have the
wow,
Cornet. They
mm,
have all these Iranian surgical striking. Again, not what used to be, where you just, not
yeah,
just that.
yeah,
And of course, I was very impressed, I'll say, with Hezbollah's explosive capability. Things that just
mm,
click together like Legos, click, and then they have thermal cameras, thermal drones. Here I am begging, will someone in America help me get a thermal drone so I can see the heat input? Thermal means, and I'm like,
uh,
they don't. I don't see any Hezbollah videos asking for, please give us a thermal drone. They're
mm,
all united, unlike the
mm,
West. Hope I'm
mm,
not going to offend anyone. The West is more like corporations. You got McDonald's, you got Wendy's, you got
mm,
Denny's. You got the West has various corporations, and people rally under that flag for a
mm,
season. Of course, you have same in the jihadist world. You have the flag of the Islamic Jihad, and then Hamas, and then ISIS, and then Boko Haram, and then
right,
Hezbollah and Hamas. You have those, but they yet are united in purpose, 100%.
mm,
Whereas the West isn't necessarily always even united in purpose, where they'll
right,
say,
right,
sure, I'll give to this cause.
mm,
Maybe the Catholics are. I think maybe if the Pope snaps his fingers, then they'll
mm,
they'll listen to him in a unified
right,
manner.
mm,
These are deep issues which I wasn't going to get on to,
yeah,
but
yeah,
they use all kinds of tactics, and
mm,
they're hardened in the
mm,
they're trained in the Syrian civil war. They
mm,
Hezbollah went to fight in the Syrian civil war under Assad, who's another maniacal,
mm,
demonic man. 100 people a
mm,
day dying,
mm,
and they got battle hardened. Their snipers are great,
mm,
but it's a great in a bad way.
right,
They're
right,
very good with the night vision,
skilled,
and
yeah,
they plan to kill us all in the gallery.
mm,
So
wow, wow. Well, thank you for
that's a
giving
bit
us.
of what it looks like.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for giving us that real picture. Obviously, it's good for us to hear. I think sometimes in the West, people can think, oh, Israel's the one that's high tech, and oh, the poor Gazans, they don't, they're fighting with forks and pots and pans, and like even though everybody knows it's not true, that's like the image
Right.
you've just showed it. Like you've been there, you've been in the tunnels. There's serious capabilities and that stuff there. So thank you for giving us that realistic, actual boots on the ground view of what's actually going on and the threats that you've had to be in order to fight this battle. So
Right.
Chaim, now share with us a little bit about the miracles, right? What as you're going in, and under this intense, place and threat, you've been in there for a while now. What miracles have you seen? What does it feel like, in this Maccabean kind of job that you have and going in? What miracles have you seen? What feeling do you have in your heart of like, wow, we're doing this is a very godly mission that you've been assigned to. What does that
Right.
feel like? What are some of the miracles you've seen?
I'd say I just want to even start with my heart of hearts,
Mm,
just within me as a person. I have a family, have 3 children,
yeah.
wonderful wife, and I realize, when people talk about light, and who is the light of the world, people
Mm,
always skip over that God calls Israel the light to the nations. Always. It's so rare that someone
mm,
will mention that God is called Israel. to
Mm.
be a light to the nations, a light. And when
Right.
these countries swear by their God to obliterate us, that is darkness.
Mm.
That is 100% darkness. Every chant, I listen to the chants in
Mm.
Iran's parliament. I listen to it. It is, I can't even explain, skin crawling to listen to
Mm.
the way they're like. And the next episode, the next thing we need to discuss is better trash trucks for Isfahan. Will want to get better trash trucks, and then they take a pause, and then death to America, death to Israel, death to America, death to Israel.
Mm.
And next item we want to talk about is the speaker, our illustrious speaker here, will be arriving. Death to Israel, death. And I'm like, whoa, 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 what
Mm.
is wrong with this picture?
Yeah.
How
Mm.
does that? They stick it
Wow.
in between, like every pause. There's
Mm.
this screaming, and I can only think of
Mm.
175 BC. Some say
Mm.
BCE, before Common Era, or this before Common Era is a funny thing because that's when the Antiochus Epiphanes was ruling,
Mm.
and he was bringing a great darkness. Just quickly tying it in,
Mhm.
Antiochus Epiphanes the fourth, and it was 175 BC. So that's before Common Era, before Christ. But it's funny. Even if you call it Common Era, and you don't call it before Christ, Messiah, you could say before Common Era. Then you're still pointing to a certain period
Mhm.
in time where something happened,
Right.
something shifted at
Mm.
this Common Era, whatever made it common later and
Yeah.
before it was uncommon. I don't know what that was. I wonder. But point is he shows up and
Mm.
he outlaws Torah, and
Yeah.
he desecrates the temple. And
Mm.
so we're in the similar. I'm just painting a picture that we're facing Iran and its proxies. What's so different between us
Mm.
and those who faced absolute obliteration of another octopus? That
Mm.
octopus was the Greek Empire. Now, this was like a branch of the Greek government, of the Greek empire, not government, the Greek Empire here.
Yeah.
They had their proxy here in Tychus. And so it's almost like the same kind of thing. And they said, you're not allowed to keep Shabbat. We're going to burn your Torah. Like, that's the
Mm.
same thing they want to do.
Yeah.
There's no respect for the Torah. They would completely outlaw. And then, of
Mm.
course, you have certain people arise. Judah the Maccabee, or
Yeah.
Matityahu was the high priest, and his son Judah. Maccabee means hammer, but Judah, he was Judah, the son of Ben Matityahu, but they call him the hammer because he says we're going to revolt
Mm.
from town of Modi'in, and that's 164 where it started. So I'd say I see a
Mhm.
parallel with my guys and the unity
Mm.
that we have one with another in order to stand together and hold that light, because Israel's called as a light to the nations. The darkness is trying to put the light out. Same
Yeah.
thing with the Maccabees. they
Mm.
they literally wanted to put the actual light out, the
Mm.
the light which
Yeah.
is the light which was now, just a really fun little pause is that
Mm.
light was so interesting, because you look to the book of Maccabees and you look at chapter 2, second Maccabees, that is chapter 1, verse 21. Just an interesting thought is, they
Mm.
informed us that they could not find any more fire, but only a
Mm.
thick liquid. He ordered them to scoop this thick liquid, like mercury, liquid mercury or whatever, and store
Mm.
some of it and bring it after the
Mm.
material for sacrifices. So Nehemiah ordered the priests to put this thick liquid
Mm.
on the offerings. So now, I'm not trying to say that it wasn't oil and it was actually some thick liquid, but verse 22,
Mm.
when this was done, the sun, which had been clouded over, began to shine, and a great fire blazed up, so that everyone marveled. Okay, and so
Mm.
he's talking about this thick liquid. So I don't know what that is, but I'm just
Mm.
I'm just saying that there was definitely a
Mm.
light, a glorious light in the temple. We know that it burned in the menorah day and
Yeah.
night. Leviticus says it must never go out. It's got to be burning the whole time. And so the enemy wanted to put that out.
Mm.
And so you have in Second Maccabees chapter 2, and it says, take some of this fire with you in verse 1. Take some of this special fire. And so the prophet Jeremiah said, also take, this is end of first temple before the Babylonians were going to destroy everything, right? Nebuchadnezzar the second.
Mhm.
So they decided to take the Ark of the Covenant and hide it. And it says, just to complete this little interesting read of the book of Maccabees, I never read it, but just this is just an interesting thing. He
Mhm.
says, hide these elements, the tabernacle of David, the wasn't the menorah because the Romans stole the menorah, but
Mhm.
hide the Ark of the Covenant. And he says, this place is in verse 7, Second Maccabees chapter 2, verse 7, that this place is to remain unknown, the hiding place, until God gathers his people together again.
Mm.
Okay, that's the Aliyah. We're seeing that now happen
Yeah.
and shows them his mercies. And then the Lord will disclose these things, the Ark of the Covenant, and so
Mm.
on. And the glory of the Lord will be seen just as they appeared in the time of Moses and Solomon when they prayed. Remember, the fire came down for Solomon, just like that pillar of fire on the Aliyah.
Yeah.
Aliyah means the gathering of the Jewish people to the promised land. And
Mm.
it will be, again, appear, and that the place of the Lord will be greatly sanctified. I
Mm.
just thought that was a
Wow.
fun thing to note, that we're not just
Mm.
looking back to the Maccabees,
Yeah.
and we're not just looking at today. We're actually looking even at Israel's future. We're still got to fight for the light even in the future. And boy,
Mm.
will that light be seen in a
Wow.
pillar of fire once again.
Mm.
And
Mm.
that's kind of what we do at the Faithful Galileans too, is just teach people about Israel past, present, future. We
Mm.
also have the Aliyah Return Center, that's just humanitarian aid, and we also have a teaching like Lighthouse. How do you call
Mhm.
yours is called Lighthouse
Israel,
of
Israel Lighthouse for the Nations.
Israel Lighthouse for the Nations. So
Mm.
ours is the Faithful Galileans, similar to
Mhm.
the Aliyah Return Center, but that one's just humanitarian aid, and this is education, training
Right.
ambassadors, essentially,
Mm.
just to
Yeah.
understand God's truth. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question, but I think that that really shows that the light and the darkness
Mm.
is what it's really about. The
Yeah. Mm.
war scroll found in the Qumran caves, Qumran cave number 1, back right when Israel was discovered. Sorry, when Israel was voted upon in Flushing Meadows.
Mhm.
That very time of the vote is when that cave was discovered, and that
Mm.
cave shows the book of Isaiah where God says, "Can a nation be born in a day? Yes, it
Mm.
can. As soon as Zion is travailing with birth, I will bring
Mm.
it forth. I'll bring Zion
Yeah.
forth in one day, and the nations will
Mm.
see it." Isaiah
Yeah.
66. But you have also this war scroll, which
Mm.
talks about, and the book of Maccabees. You have the war scroll, which says, the sons of light fight
Mm.
against the sons of darkness.
Mm.
And not only is this battle real, the fight against sons of light against the sons of darkness, you know that there's a prince of Persia, if you look in the book of Daniel, which
Mm.
shows what that darkness is. But
Mm.
the
Yeah.
crazy thing is that it's not just the prince of Persia. It says after he's fighting the prince of Persia, it says then the prince of Greece will come. So I
Mm.
thought we were done with the Greeks in the time of the Maccabees, but it
Yeah.
looks like yet there's going to be a future of
Mm.
deceived followers of the Greek Aristotle,
Mm.
Thomas, the very Plato, the very
Mhm.
foundation of the West. There's going to be an issue in the West too, that of people getting deceived, that will need to align with God's covenant purpose and the light that shines.
Mm. Wow. Amen. Amen. Wow. So thank you so much, Chaim, for giving us this overview, giving us boots on the ground perspective, and then sharing the battle that we're in, but that we have lots of light to look forward to. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Real quick, before we wrap up, tell us a little bit more about how people can connect with you and the Aliyah Return Center, the Faithful Galileans. If people want to say they've watched this interview and they're like, "Hey, I need to get more in touch with this guy," how do they do it?
Yeah, well, so definitely I would go to chaimmalespin.com. So Chaim is
Mm.
my name, Chaim, which means life, and then
Mm.
Malespin, male like man, spin like the globe. Chaim, Chaim, malespin.com. That's my name.
Mm.
And there you'll see both the charities, both the Aliyah Return Center and the Faithful Galileans. And of course, I
Mm.
also have a charity which helps mostly soldiers. That's what I focus on.
Mm.
Aliyah Return Center helps immigrants. This helps teach the nations. And then I focus most of my efforts on, and people can donate to 501c3. It's year-end giving. People can give if they feel led to be part of that light and
Mm.
part of shining that light in the darkness. There's so many soldiers that are struggling. I believe it's 179. I hate to even say this, 179 suicides, because make it stop, make it stop, make it stop. Just the pain, the memories, the
Yeah.
tears, the
Mm.
emotions of my friend, there's a lot of
Right.
dealing with
Mm.
trauma.
Yeah.
PTSD, which can
Mm.
be dealt with. I spoke in the Knesset
Yeah.
recently and said it's not the plague. You can
Mm.
deal with it, and we
Yeah.
need to be together on dealing
Mm.
and facing it. I would hate to see, no offense to Americans, but the way after the Vietnam War, some of
Mm.
those vets just went off the edge because they just
Right.
there wasn't a dealing with it. And now
Mm.
we have more knowledge to how to deal with it. I think there's
Yeah.
ways, especially with horses, connecting with to help them heal, and I want to be a big part of that. So that's what they can do. And let me
Mm.
just end with this thought: is the
Yeah.
Hashmonaim dynasty
Mm.
arose after the great victory, after the light burned, according to tradition, burned
Mm.
for 8 days, and it was a miraculous victory over an empire of darkness. And
Mm.
they killed a pig on the altar, and they said, "You can't do Shabbat. You can't be Jewish. You can't follow the Torah anymore. Burn the Torah." Well, we know that we had great victory, didn't we? But then a
Mm.
Hashmonaean dynasty arose, which was the Maccabees' kingship, right? But what happened is it didn't stay that long because we ended up in a Hashmonaean civil war.
Mm.
That civil war, or that disagreements, not all for one for all, one for all for God. We invited the Roman Empire. Do you ever wonder how the Roman Empire started? Because it was Greeks, then the Roman Empire started here in
Right.
this area. So
Mm.
you have the Romans seeing weaknesses. They saw us at a civil war, and the Romans said, "We're just going to go and take over." And they came through here and killed the Maccabees' descendants.
Mm.
So you want to say, how can, and in the same way, Sinwar, who's the head of was the head of the El Aqsa flood, which was the head of Hamas's massacring, barbaric assault, to kill us and to take us hostage and so on. So he saw the divisions and he said, "I don't want to wait for a united
Mm.
front. I see them divided." So another
Yeah.
prayer is that we'll all here in Israel
Mm.
continue, like I
Yeah.
am with my brothers in the army. Actually, I could say sisters too, brothers and sisters
Mm.
in the
Yeah.
army. That we remain united even
Mm.
when this battle is over,
Yeah.
and not give a room for the enemy to come in.
Mm. Mm.
That's my prayer.
Mm. Amen.
Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Chaim, for sharing. And yes, Hanukkah Sameach.
God bless you. May your work continue to increase and reach many in this
Mm.
time.
Amen. And the same to you. I appreciate all the kingdom work that you're doing. So blessings to you in your work as well.
Thank you so much.